The roses were already starting to bend from the cold. Red ones, white ones, a few yellow ones tied with cheap ribbon. Daniel Brooks stood outside St. Catherine's Hospital with a cardboard box at his feet and his 7-year-old daughter's purple scarf wrapped around his neck. A small handwritten sign leaned against the box. Roses, $3 each. He had sold 11 all morning. He needed to sell 30 more before evening. Medicine was due tomorrow. Rent was due Friday. And his daughter Lily had asked him that morning if poor people were allowed to get better. Daniel had no answer for that. So he kissed her forehead, picked up the flowers, and came to the hospital entrance. Because hospitals were full of people who still had time to say something, or needed one last chance to say it. At 4:17 in the afternoon, a black luxury car stopped at the curb. A tall man stepped out in a charcoal suit, polished shoes, and a watch that cost more than Daniel's entire year. His name was Victor Hale, billionaire, hotel owner, real estate king, a man who bought buildings the way ordinary people bought coffee. He walked toward the hospital entrance with 2 assistants behind him, phone in one hand, anger already on his face. Daniel lifted a rose gently. "Sir," he said, "would you like a rose for someone inside?" Victor stopped. He looked Daniel up and down. Then he looked at the cardboard box, and he laughed. Not loudly. Worse. Softly. Like Daniel was something small and embarrassing. "A rose?" Victor said. Daniel nodded. "Fresh this morning, $3. Victor glanced at his assistants. "Do I look like a man who buys flowers from the sidewalk?" The younger assistant smirked. Daniel lowered the rose slightly. "No, sir. You look like a man who has someone worth giving one to." For 1 second, Victor's smile disappeared. Then it came back colder. "Men like you always have a line." Daniel said nothing. Victor stepped closer. "You stand outside hospitals selling guilt to desperate people." Daniel's fingers tightened around the flower. "I sell roses." "No," Victor said. "You sell emotion to people when they are weak." A woman entering the hospital slowed down. A nurse near the door looked over. Daniel kept his voice calm. "Sometimes people need help saying what they feel." Victor looked at the wilted corner of one rose. "And sometimes people need to get a real job." The words landed hard. Daniel looked down. Not because he was ashamed of selling flowers. Because his daughter's scarf was still warm around his neck, Victor turned to leave. Then his phone rang. He looked at the screen. His face changed. The kind of change money cannot hide. He answered. "Yes?" He listened. His jaw tightened. "What do you mean she's not responding?" Daniel looked up. Victor stopped moving. The assistant stopped too. The hospital doors slid open and closed behind him, but Victor did not enter. He only listened. Then his voice came out lower. No, I just spoke to her this morning." Silence. His hand started shaking. "What room?" The arrogance was gone now. Completely. All that remained was a husband standing on a hospital sidewalk, hearing that the woman upstairs might not make it through the hour. Victor ended the call. For a moment, he looked lost. Not rich. Not powerful. Just lost. Daniel lifted one rose from the box. A red one. The best one he had left. He stepped forward and held it out. Victor stared at him. Daniel said softly, "Take it." Victor blinked. "I don't have cash." Daniel shook his head. "No charge." Victor looked at the rose like he did not understand the language of free things. Daniel placed it gently into his hand. "Give it before it's too late." Victor's face broke, and for the first time in many years, the billionaire had nothing to say. Daniel Brooks had not always sold flowers outside hospitals. 5 years ago, he had owned a small flower shop on Maple Street. Brooks and Bloom. It was not fancy. The front window fogged in winter. The sign leaned slightly to the left. The refrigerator made a clicking sound every few minutes. But the shop smelled like morning, like soil,